Hey everyone, this is your Entrep Guru, Avinash Ramsbag, and today we're going to be evaluating business venture growth strategies. So what is a venture growth strategy? It's a plan or an approach that the company adopts to expand its operations, increase its market share, and achieve its objectives. Now, the first one that we take a look at is our market penetration strategy. Now, when looking at any of those strategies, what we are taking a look at first, and I want you all to make sure and remember this, is whether or not that we are going to be entering into a new market or not, and whether or not we are going to be developing a new product. And that will tell you in terms of the type of strategy that we're looking at. So as we would see here with the market penetration strategy is that we're not changing our market. So we're not entering into a new market, no expansion of that market, of the market. And what we are doing also, what we are not doing also is that we are also not making a new product itself. So no new product, no new market. However, what we are doing is that we are trying to change our marketing strategies in order to increase our market share. So what we may try to do in this case here is that we would try to make ourselves more competitive in terms of our pricing strategies. We may try to increase our marketing campaigns and also improve our customer service so that persons will increase their purchases from us. The advantages of this type of strategy is that it is low risk because of the fact that persons are already familiar with the product. So we're not really changing anything with regards to the product, and we're also not entering into a new market where we don't even know what is taking place, right? So it is definitely low risk, and therefore also it is cost effective because of the fact that we are looking at existing capabilities and not trying to change what we have, and therefore making it less expensive. We also have a quicker amount of returns in terms of our revenue if it is that we can take advantage of those increase in our efforts to market our product. Now, the disadvantages is that we can end up with what we call market saturation because of the fact that your previous lack of sales could have been due to the fact that your market was already saturated. So trying to grow that current market may not be a possibility. There can also be intense competition, and therefore what may happen is that if it is that, let's say you decide, okay, you're going to decrease your price to get more people to buy from you, you may find competitors may also do the same, and therefore it may be a bit difficult for you to defend. There could also be a bit limited scope also, all right, and it's only your strategy will only be effective if there is potential for significant growth in the market. We also have our next strategy, and this one is a market expansion strategy. And this one would involve taking our existing products, so the same products that we have, but we try to put it into a new market itself, right? So enter into new markets. So for example, let's say that Chubby decides that, you know what, they're not sticking to North America anymore, and maybe they're going into Europe a little bit more than they can. So in that case, now they can expand their market even more than that. The advantages of this type of strategy is that there is a new revenue stream. The fact is that maybe it is that you have maximized in one area, in one market itself, and therefore it may make sense for you to enter into the other. You tend to diversify the risk because what will happen now is that you can spread the risk across different markets, and you are not as dependent upon one market. And you can also have some cost advantages if it is that you expand into other markets. You can benefit from things such as bulk buying and stuff like that, and therefore benefit from economies of scale. The disadvantages, though, is that you can have cultural differences. Imagine if you enter into a market that you are not very sure about in terms of how customers may respond. You may have a bit of issues with regards to that. there can be a higher cost in terms of entering those new markets. Sometimes you can have higher distribution costs. You may need to take some time to adapt to the culture of that market also. And in addition, it can be time consuming. So it can be a lengthy process in terms of being able to enter into any new markets. We also have what we call a product expansion strategy. So in this case here now, what we are doing is that we are sticking to the same market that we were in, but we are expanding our product range. So in that case, we may develop more products for that market. The advantages is that you can actually increase your market share if it is that you offer more than one, and therefore customers have greater variety and choice. What can happen too is that because of that, you will be able to retain your customers, and also persons will see you as that company that pushes innovation, and therefore you can have a reputation for it. The disadvantages though is that there can be a high research and development cost if it is that you are constantly trying to develop new products for that existing market. Sometimes it is also that your new products may not be accepted as well as maybe the first product that you had. In addition to which, there can be cannibalization, meaning that what can happen is that your new products could eat into the sales of the existing products, and therefore it could actually go against what you originally intended. We also have what we call a diversification strategy. And in this case, you can enter into a completely new market with a completely new product. And in this case, this could be beneficial because it really does give you something new, and that ability to spread that risk over different markets with different products. There's also growth opportunities because it opens up new areas of income, and also it helps the business in terms of new areas of core competencies that they could leverage those in terms of expertise that their management may have, in terms of the resources that they may have idle to use. The issue here though is that you could enter into areas that are very much unfamiliar, and therefore you can face a very high risk. In terms of, you also have a lot more resources being used, because what will happen is that you may have to have resources for each type of product or market also that you may have, and it may lead to a complex management structure that really and truly could be very much of a more of a hybrid kind of structure that will be difficult to manage. In addition, moving beyond just the product and the market, we can also take a look at acquisition of other companies. And in this case, this is where one company may purchase another, and in that case, they may be able to expand their market share and also their product offerings, or even expand their operational capabilities. The advantages of this is that they can experience a rapid growth if it is that they take over a business that is very much strategic to them. They can also have some cost savings and increase in efficiency if it is that they can work very well together. And also they may be able to benefit from the technologies that that company that they are acquiring has. The disadvantage though is that it can be very expensive to acquire a new company, and it has to be worth it. So there has to be some form of a cost benefit analysis. There can be cultural integration issues, and that can be very difficult to manage. So they really have to be very careful with that. And then depending on what it is, or where this business is, this next business, there can be some regulatory issues. So you must be very clear in terms of what growth strategy that you are choosing, but please remember, choosing it depends on the company's current market position, their resources, their risk tolerance, and their long-term goals. So you have to be very careful in terms of choosing which strategy that you are using. And one thing that I would say is, and I mentioned it when I was talking about that product life cycle, take a look back at where you are in that product life cycle, and it might help you in terms of choosing which strategy may be best. So that's it for me for today. I want to thank you very much. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Entrep group. Take care. Bye bye.